Well, good morning. A day of shame, I think, in this country. Almost a general strike. Thousands of workers in all sorts of industries on strike. But most notably, the nurses, the NHS, the ambulances, leaving millions vulnerable. Is that what the nurses meant? Is that what the ambulance drivers meant? Is that what the doctors meant? And for once, is that what the government meant? Difficult to say. It is difficult to say. Good morning. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television. Start of another week. It's the 6th day, I think so. Yes, 6th day of February 2023. We had hoped for a better year. Doesn't look as if it's going to be a better year. It is slowly deteriorating, and nobody seems willing to do anything about it. And I mean, nobody. The country is in crisis. Out of all the G7 nations, we're the only ones that anticipate negative growth. And I'm a bit surprised because the mayhem that's going on in civilian life here is nowhere near replicated in other countries across the Western world. So I'm afraid that's that's what we're faced with, and it's quite cold out there too. It's 1 degree. You know, it's going to warm up to about 4 or 5 today, but that's all. Only a slight breeze, thank goodness. Doesn't turn it bitterly cold, but nonetheless, a cool day, a day to wrap up if you're going outside. All right, okay, where are we at? Well, let's take a look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? And the assessment is that NHS strikes and Liz Truss's return, and that's the one that has got most people going. Is Truss to challenge the PM over China, and she's back, back with a bang. She went to lick her wounds after being deposed as Prime Minister. She's licked them. She's obviously got her mates back together and they've had a good old chat. And now they're going to challenge the government on what they believe is a left-wing agenda. They call it a left-wing agenda. And they say that if given a chance, some of her policies, which got her kicked out, booted out, would have worked. So here we go again. National strikes, inflation, weakened economy, food prices, energy crisis, you name it. We've got all sorts of things, and what are our leaders going to do? They're all going to fight about what's right and what's wrong. And this Truss has triggered a new round of, hey, What do you say? So there we go. The sun. The son stays true to its own cause. Dad, I had Harry in a field. It's just the girl who's supposed to have shagged Prince Harry and taught him what life was all about in a field behind a pub has come forward and said, "It's me. It's me." Oh, it shouldn't be my type, but to some, I suppose, be all right. But Harry has admitted that he did have a first fling behind a pub when he was 16 or 17. Can't you just imagine it? Well, he and his mates laughing and giggling and not really knowing what it's about. And some girls in the pub saying, "Oh, do you fancy the one over there? Let's see what we can do." It's also archetypal. But anyway, she's come forward and said, "'Twas me. 'Twas me. I'm not going to bother with the story." The Times, delusional Truss will cost votes, Tories fear. They think that the fact that Liz Truss has managed to get back into the running, as it were, is to become a voice that the voters are going to turn away from them. I think the voters are probably turning away from the fact of no activity. They don't seem to be grappling with the problems that we've got. There's no decisive action. They are shilly-shallying. It's very, very upsetting. Anyway, there we are. We go to the Guardian, and they've changed. They lead with the main story, the other main story of the day, and that is that the NHS pay is going to be the key issue, and the government has said there is no more money, and the nurses are saying, "Well, we're not going to work unless there is some more money." Are we going to actually see a permanent decrease in what the NHS has to offer? Because it's not just the striking workers, striking nurses, striking doctors, striking support staff, striking ambulance drivers, if you like. It has a huge material effect on our health and welfare. And one wonders why they aren't coming to grips with it. But then, is that what this government is all about? Prevaricating, trying to find anything to talk about except the issue at stake. I suspect it is. The Daily Mail. The Daily Mail claims, and it says, no wonder we can't afford to do anything because it says that the NHS is spending £400,000 a day on private ambulances and taxis to take patients to and from the hospital while this strike persists. And that's an awful lot of money. An awful lot of money indeed. So if in fact it's correct, if it's true, the country is setting out on a road to self-destruction and taking the country with it as it goes. Strange. Well, let's go on to. Well, actually, what the Mail says is no wonder NHS can't afford the union pay demands because it's spending 400 grand a day on taxes. The Mirror stays with disappearing Nicola. People are beginning to hold in question the theory that she slid down the bank trying to get a ball for her poochies, her doctors, her dogs, and slipped into the water and drowned. Some people aren't buying that. The Metro. She still doesn't get it. And what the paper is saying is that she is blaming the lefty city, the lefty financial community, saying that they aren't brave enough to pick up the ball and run with it. At the same time, contributing to it in many ways by keeping noses to the grindstone of internal rows rather than going after the root causes of inflation, etc., which are causing our main problems at the moment. Now, there, the star, returns to the weather, and it says, Arctic brass monkeys. The energy grid is under pressure in a polar plunge. The incoming sub-zero temperatures will, so says the star, the Daily Star, will leave the UK colder than the Arctic. As well as this, the freezing temperatures will put pressure on the national grid. Aha! So then that's the suggestion is we could have power cuts again, back to power cuts, particularly in this very, very cold period. The Daily Express goes with Nicola again. And the Financial Times, it goes with the Americans shooting down a Russian weather balloon. And the Chinese have reacted rather badly towards that. This is Beijing slams the US for downing balloon in a further strain on frayed relations. So the Chinese and the Americans are surely not getting along at all well. But this latest one is it starts to get into what I consider to be perfectly okay as far as it goes. That we have no problems with our form of government and that they would barrel into one another, except that they're not coming to any conclusions. They're not getting their act together. They're not getting a grip and saying, this is how we're going to try and resolve it. And as a consequence, the sort of thing that is shooting down a weather balloon, strange relations, I suspect it was just a gung-ho pilot. But once it's done, it is that they have to go with it, really, and defend it. So some Top Gun Oh, and down the balloon went. Now we've got a problem. Now we've got a problem. All right. It's back to this Truss, where the I says the Truss sparks Tory turmoil over tax cuts, and it goes on to say she was, or there was a close to a deal on the table about the markets and allowing people to have their say on the strikes and so on and so forth, and that basically the tax cuts with Liz Truss keep dominating. The other thing that you need to be aware of is the weather. It is going to remain cool. It's going to reach about 4 today. Much, much cooler. I mean, we've had it up to 11 or 12 recently. And that is very balmy for this type of year. Now, let's go to you have to put up with me for a little while now. Let's look at some of the local news. 2 men are seriously injured as a man is arrested on suspicion of attempted murder in Enfield, sleepy little village of Enfield. 2 men have been seriously injured after an assault on a property in Enfield. Police were called on Sunday. Wondering whether, in fact, he should have his head wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. No. But anyway, there was an assault at a property in Enfield. 1 man has subsequently been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, and Sussex police were called to the to the incident, at 12 o'clock on Sunday night. The calls for 2 men have been assaulted. The incident took place at a property in Enfield, and the 2 injured men were taken to hospital, and nobody's too unhappy with he thumped me and I thumped them syndrome. It's a bit odd. These things are happening just now, and perhaps the last story locally that is of intrigue and interest is the missing couple who came from South London, took off for the South Coast, and their newborn baby. And there's some concern over the newborn baby because the temperatures are not conducive, particularly if you're camping out, to being terribly warm. We're expecting the search to begin. In fact, it will begin after. Well, it wasn't waiting for us, but after we're off the air. Well, we finished our morning review of the news. And the other one, which I think, to be quite honest, hang on, we've got ourselves into a wee bit of a bother here. We'll get out of it. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're in the capable hands of Mr. High Tech. Oh dear. He said, What do I want to do? It says. You see, it's amazing with these things that all you have to do is to have one little mistap, and suddenly the whole thing disappears on you. And getting it back is not as easy as it often seems. It's essentially the paper, and there seems some controversy as to whether, in fact, we're going to actually have a cold snap or not. But some newspapers are saying if there is a cold snap, that we're in for a bad time and be prepared for it. And also telling our leaders to be prepared for it, because they haven't been prepared for much else in so far this year. And but in many ways, the cold snap is coming when trains aren't running, doctors and nurses aren't operating, all sorts of other people are on strike, the NHS and nurses. It is a filthy, filthy mess. And we really need to get to the bottom of it. When I say that, is there any need for it? It is difficult to determine whether, in fact, we've got problems that are so complex that we can't do anything about it. I must say that I'm a bit slow this morning. I think I've woken up after a relatively clear weekend to the usual problems of Monday morning, and it's slowing me down. Let's tell you who we are. There you are, Mirador Television, broadcasting out of the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, East Sussex. The home is where Tom Paine worked and developed his rights of man theories and principles, which ultimately saw the downfall of Boston, who then made themselves forced themselves to enter into a war of independence, which they won. And the losing general actually came from Lewis, or from Firle. It was General Gage who was in charge of the British forces, and he got outmaneuvered and outdone. Right, you are. There you are. That's a start, I suppose. It's a start. Is it? Yes, it is. What else in terms of news headlines and so on? That's the main stories, I think. No, I'm so sorry that I can't actually bring up the moment, where the information that we've got. I do this every time. Oh, no, absolutely no idea. Just a little bit of concentration, and you get there eventually. Now, there is one other important story, I think, and that is that Tesco is closing some of its services. The store is going to close all counters and hot delis in a move which will impact 2,100 jobs. Now, I don't go to Tesco often enough to know what they're talking about when it comes to all counters and hot delis. I do know there is a little cafe. It's actually Tesco in Lewis, if that's what they're talking about, and that's going to close. I suppose they know what they're doing, but it does seem to me that it was very, very popular. And I would have thought would hook in shoppers if you go and have, if you go and have a cup of coffee in a place, you're likely to stay there to have a proper shop, aren't you? But anyway, the story basically is that it's going to shake up its shop management roles and shut remaining counters and hot delis, right? In an overall, which will impact around 2,100 jobs. Tesco said it is reducing the number of lead and team managers in large shops as part of a shake-up of its management structure, which will impact around 1,750 workers. The UK's largest supermarket chain said the shake-up will also introduce around 1,800 new shift leaders roles in store, leading operational duties on the shop floor basis. So there you are. Tesco are cutting back. It's 9:59. Am I grateful? Not the best day to start the week, but nonetheless, maybe a catalyst to get civilians, military, and security forces into providing services, not for cash, but as a sort of trade exchange. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. That seems to be where we're headed. So mayhem strikes this Truss back. More and more difficulties, if you like, for personnel. More and more not working or working from home, pretending to work. Is all in all, we're in a doghouse. And whether, in fact, we can turn it around. Not my job to say. Okay. Pokey. We will cut out now for a little while, about half an hour, and then we'll be back with some programs, and then hopefully Suzanne Musho will fill us in on what's happening in the United States. Hey, Well, there we go. I don't quite know what I'm looking for. I know. Yes, I do. The first step first is let's try that one. And then we have the temerity to go back again to an easy alliance. Because of the threat from Russia. And now, after an incautious movement, is shooting down a weather balloon. The tensions between the United States and China have now risen. Okay, here we are. We'll be back at around 10:30.